back for another installment of the post-match show following West Ham Burnley's boring 0-0 draw. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back. We have returned, as the title implies. As always, I am Chris, and I'm joined once again by my co-host, Irish Tommy. Mate, I know it's been a minute, but how are you feeling?
Disappointed. You know, it was an opportunity today to pull further clear, keep the pressure on the teams behind us. Unfortunately, now we've given them an opportunity. They have games in hand, particularly Tottenham, which I hate. Tottenham win their games in hand, you know, they can go above us, and you know, I just don't like that at all. I really wanted to get the 3 points out of this. So it's a disappointing result, to be honest. You know, Burnley are in 18th. You know, that's a game we really have to be taking 3 points from.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so like I said in the intro here, match finishes in a boring 0-0 draw. Point shared, really should have gotten something out of that. We're going to get into everything here in a bit, primarily the second half, just because, as Tommy and I were talking beforehand, I missed a little bit of the first half, and he was unable to find a stream as well. So we're really only going to be able to talk about the last few minutes of the first half and the second half. I mean, obviously, 0-0 draw, you're not going to be able to talk about too much, but from everything I've seen, one of the biggest takeaways from that match is our over-reliance on corners and set pieces. And when we don't have those going for us, I mean, we're a very flat team, it seems like. And I don't know if that's because of Antonio. I don't know if that's the entire team or just how we play.
Yeah, the story of today's game really is the final third. Great to be back, Mark. Thanks for joining. And also good morning to Neil. Yeah, it's a story of the final third. We've all that was missing today was just that cutting edge up front. You know, if we'd had a cutting edge up front today, final ball had been a bit better, finishing been a little better, we'd have won that comfortably. So of course we are, Wally, always massive. But yeah, so that's the really disappointing thing for me. I know we'll talk about individual performances and stuff, but you know, I can't fault the endeavour, particularly second half. I thought the players really pushed on in that second half and got into some really good situations. We created a lot of openings, and the fact that we just didn't make any of them count is what's really disappointing. We really ought to have won that game. So I can't fault the effort of the players. I think they did really try. Particularly Declan Rice was just driving on for midfield non-stop. We did some good work down the flanks as well. You know, we got into some really good situations on the left with Masuaku and Ben Rama. Got in some really good situations, didn't make anything of them. And then on the right, Kafal and Bowen at various times got into, and even Antonio got in some really good situations, didn't make anything of them. We did force a couple of smart saves from Nick Pope, but they're saves you'd expect a quality keeper like him to make. So, you know, we didn't trouble his goal enough. Like I say, set pieces, the corners, you know, we really didn't create anything from those. But that's not a surprise. I mean, Burnley are always going to be very good defensively in the air and set pieces. So, yeah, just that final third, which really let us down today, because we were the better team and we should have taken the points today.
I agree. And then we can kind of get into this as well. I mean, I can't add too much onto that. I mean, we should have won that. It's just seemed like Burnley kept everyone back because they knew we were just going to attack them constantly. You said before the show here that Burnley was defending pretty stoically, and that's exactly what it was. Every time we had the ball, all but their striker was behind them, or was behind the ball. So I mean, there were not too many in routes that we could make. The biggest defining moment of the match for me, though, was the fact that a Stonewall penalty wasn't called in the first half. In the box. I mean, that the commentary on our end here was, or in the United States, they were saying that that wasn't a penalty for the simple reason that he didn't have the possession of the ball. And I saw people online saying that he jumped in the air. So apparently now in the box, if you don't have the ball, you're just allowed to be kicked constantly as you're going forward.
Yes, so that's good for all Premier League players to know for their next games. If you're marking a player in the box and running with him and he doesn't have the ball, you can just kick him to the ground and it's not a foul. I've never heard so much bollocks in all my life. If that's the excuse they're using, that if a player in the box doesn't have possession of the ball, you can kick him and it's not a foul, are you fucking joking me? I've never heard so much bullshit. Of course it's a foul. You can't go around kicking players just because they don't have possession of the ball. It's still a foul. Off the
Yeah,
ball fouls are a thing. The rules don't change because a player doesn't have possession. You can't kick them. It's as
yeah,
simple as that. And that excuse is ridiculous. I've never heard so much rubbish.
yeah. And in the post game conference, I'm looking at the comments here on my second monitor here. Moyes was talking about the penalty. He said this weekend we have seen soft penalties, so I think that if they were given yesterday, then I expect today's 2 to be given. And he's exactly right. Recently we've seen a string of weak penalties, but I mean that falls right in line.
Hold on a sec, Chris.
And that wasn't even a soft one. That was a stonewall.
Think back to the penalty that was given against Masuaku for his little kick at Mo Salah.
Yeah,
There was much more contact on Dawson today. Mo Salah got a little tap on the sole of his boot and he dropped to the ground and got a penalty. And then, Dawson gets kicked full on in the shin, and apparently that's not a penalty. I mean,
yeah,
this is what you're up against in the Premier League, where the big teams get easy, soft decisions. And then if you're the likes of West Ham, you're getting this kind of stuff being waved off like nothing happened. This is what you're up against. It's ridiculous. If the kick from Masuaku on Salah was a penalty, this was a stonewall.
yeah.
And this is the double standard that we have to deal with all the bloody time. That's a penalty all day long, and there's no excuse. And that excuse they're given for not giving it is ridiculous.
I wholeheartedly agree. But at the end of the day, though, I mean, yes, that would have been that could have easily been the deciding factor. But I mean, we just weren't good enough today, regardless. I mean, we should have won that game even without that penalty, or even without that. We should have been able to still sit here bitching about that call, but still coming away with the 3 points. But we just were not good enough today.
Well, that's it basically. Like I said, Burnley did defend stoically, which they'll always do. But we got in particular in that second half, we got into some really, really good situations where we had them really struggling to defend, and our final shot just wasn't up to standard. The amount of times we got into great positions, you just need that final pass to be right, and it wasn't. It was very frustrating to watch. And look, the funny thing is, I was thinking about this game earlier, like before the game started, and I thought I knew in my heart and soul we were going to keep them scoreless because they struggled for goals, and we're very good defensively. And I thought we're not going to concede today, so I thought all we have to do is score one, and I was absolutely certain we would. I was certain we would get at least one. We'd manage one goal somewhere along the 90+ minutes. And that's how it turned out, that we didn't concede and we just needed that one goal to beat this lot. And it's very disappointing that we couldn't find one from anywhere. So it's something I think that Moyes is really going to have to deal with in this January transfer window. We've got to be more clinical up front. We've got to try everything to get Lingard back in for the second half of the season. And we've got to sign a striker who can replace Antonio because he is off form.
And I think that that's another big takeaway from not just this match, but the last few. I mean, besides Bowen, our attack has just been lackluster. Lanzini's had a few good games, and I fully agree with him keeping his place after the Chelsea match. Saeed Benrahma looks like he's just got a lack of confidence right now. Bowen's driving forward with some passion. Antonio just looks clueless at times, and other times looks like he could be the best striker in the world. It's 50-50. There's no middle ground. I think we need Lingard. For me personally, for the Arsenal match on Wednesday, I would put Pablo Fornals back in the starting 11 over Saeed.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think we're definitely gonna need Fornals for that game. Arsenal will have more possession than us, and we're going to need players who can dig in and keep everything tight. Now, the flip side of that is the breakaway. But I think Fornells has shown in previous games he's got enough about him on the counter. He's been very effective on the counter attack for us in previous games. So yeah, I would agree with putting Fornells back in. Also, again, I think Fornells and Benrahma are two players whose form hasn't been brilliant recently. Fornells again, or Benrahma again today, didn't offer enough, particularly again that final ball. And again, it wasn't lack of effort on Benrahma's part. You know, our players will always try. You know that since Moyes came in, that's a given. You know, the players will always really try, and I do think Benny tried today, but just the quality wasn't there. And the fact that you saw Vlasic come on, you know, for Benrahma tells you a lot. That Moyes could see it too. That he just wasn't affecting the game in the final third the way he should be, or the way he could be. So he chucked Vlasic on there because that was really his only option to replace Benny from the bench.
I am glad that Vlasic gets more than just some garbage time minutes, though. I think that the criticism on him has been harsh recently, just because he hasn't had the game time. I mean, he hasn't had time to develop. He hasn't had time for anyone to show us what he's got.
Yeah, I think Vlasic is improving. He's coming along, and he played really well midweek in the Europa League on last Thursday. I thought he was one of actually maybe even the only first team player as such that kind of did really well. You know, I thought the rest of them really let those young lads down on Thursday night. They're not taking it seriously enough, not getting up for it enough. They were very flat. The youngsters did really well, and I thought Vlasic did really well. So yeah, I wasn't surprised to see Benrahma get the curly finger from Moyes. Yeah, it'll be interesting on Wednesday to see if Benrahma gets another run out. Now, Moyes might look at it another way and say, look, Arsenal will probably have a lot of possession and we're going to need some skill and pace on the break. And he might see Benrahma as giving us that. And he may feel that the Arsenal game will actually suit Benrahma's game a bit better, you know, coming out with the ball, running into space a bit. So, and that's fine. Look, if Moyes goes down that road, then hopefully Benny will have a better game and score or get an assist or something. But it'd be interesting to see. But he's definitely not playing particularly well at the moment, Benrahma. But look, that's for Wednesday. We'll wait and see what Moyes does. I'm more concerned with Antonio, to be honest.
I agree with you.
I just, and we've got the problem is Antonio has to play Wednesday. You know, we've got no choice really. I don't see Moyes dropping him and chucking Bowen up top, because I think then you lose everything that Bowen gives us on that right wing, and I don't want to lose that. Because again, that could be very important against Arsenal, particularly on the counter. Bowen's really good running forward with the ball in possession, driving at defenses on the counter attack, and we don't want to lose that. So we're stuck with Antonio, which is a real problem for us right now. It's not a problem when he's in flying form like he was in the first kind of few games of the season. Then, you know, he's a fantastic asset. But when his form dips, as it has, then it becomes a serious crutch. Because we've got no other option. The other option is you chuck a kid in there. You know, you chuck in Perkins, who seems to be next in line, or perhaps Okaflex, who's scoring loads of goals. But, you know, to chuck them in at the Emirates, Moyes just won't do it.
No, and I think that that's why January, A, can't come soon enough, and B, we have to get right. If we have any ambition for this season, if we have any dreams and aspirations of staying in the top four, potentially making a run at Europa League and the other competitions, we have to bring in reinforcements. We need fresh legs. We need new names. I think we need a center back. I want to bring in Lingard and at least a striker. I think that we need at least 3 players to really catapult us to make sure that we stay there, especially with Zuma being out for a while now too.
Yeah, there's definitely 3 players that we have to buy now in January. Like you said, we have to have another option for instead of Antonio. We just have to. We've got to get a striker in. You know, someone who's good enough that you can drop Antonio for. You know, who's a proper number 9 and who's a renowned finisher. Someone who has that eye for goal and is a really good natural finisher. We need somebody like that. And as you say, centre back, we're going to have to get a centre back in, because you saw the 2 centre backs on the bench today. under 23s. It's not ideal to have, if you get another injury, now to Dawson or Diop, and they're out for 4 or 5 weeks or something. Now you're really in trouble. You're chucking a kid in there. So yeah, the Cresswell situation as well. I mean, I imagine like Cresswell didn't even make the bench today, so it seems like he's being saved for the Arsenal game. Now I hope he's being saved for Arsenal. I would have thought if he was anywhere near fitness, he would have made the bench today. But like my understanding was that he failed a late fitness test last weekend ahead of the Chelsea game. So I figured he must be kind of ready for at least the bench this week. But there was no sign of him. So a little worried there. I don't know what's going on with Cresswell because we need him back as soon as possible.
Moyes in the press conference with him says that he hopes that Cresswell is able to go for Wednesday.
Excellent. That seems like he will be then. So I think I suspect on Wednesday, if Cresswell is good to go, I think Moyes will revert back to the wing backs. I think we'll see Masuaku and Kufal as the wing backs, and I think we'll see Dawson, Diop, and Cresswell. Cresswell obviously will be the left-sided centre back of the three, with Dawson probably centre and Diop as a right-sided centre back. So, and that's worked for us before, and particularly for set pieces, we need Cresswell back. His deliveries are unbelievable, and we really miss Cresswell. Even today, we missed him because the work he does going forward down that left-hand side is invaluable. I mean, his deliveries are just unbelievable, even from open play, getting those crosses in. I mean, they're pinpoint, and they cause untold trouble for defenses. And so, yeah, it's going to be huge for us if we can get Cresswell back and playing.
Yeah. So, other than potentially Fornals for Benrahma, what else would you change from watching this match for Arsenal? Obviously, it's a different class of team between going from Burnley to Arsenal, but what would you change?
Yeah, again, that will depend on Cresswell. I really don't want to see Masuaku playing left back against Arsenal away. We could get away with it today because Burnley are a very limited side, very limited in attack, particularly down that Burnley's right hand side. He didn't have to deal with McNeil down there, but I really don't want to see Masuaku play left back on Wednesday. So if Cresswell's available, I'd be happy to stick with 4-2-3-1 with Cresswell back at left back. If he's not available, I would like to see a switch to wing backs. I would happily draft in a Lacey. I'm sure it's a Lacey who's the left-sided centre back, isn't it? From the under-23s, right. He's left-footed, so I would put him in as the left-sided centre back alongside Dawson and Diop, and I would play Masuaku as a wing back rather than as a left-sided as the fullback. So a lot would depend on Cresswell. I suppose the big question is up front. We spoke about this. Who do you play up there? So obviously, look, Antonio will play up top. Obviously, Bowen will play. So let's say it's 4-2-3-1, our usual formation. So you need the three behind Antonio. Bowen, as I say, will definitely start on the right. I would still play Lanzini as the number 10 in behind Antonio, and I would play Fornals on the left of the three.
Yeah, I think you got it dead on from what I was thinking. So,
obviously it changes now if we're playing the wing backs. You got the 5-3-2. So obviously your five, your three centre backs and your wing backs, and then obviously you've got Rice and Souček. So it's the other two
staples.
Yeah, it's the others then. The other, because Antonio obviously starts. So it's the other two then. Which two do you go with up alongside? So Bowen obviously 100% would start, and then you've got a decision to make because you're picking between Benrahma, Fornals, Lanzini. So I'd probably still stick with Lanzini given his form. I thought he looked pretty lively again today. He gets on the ball a lot. You know, he really gets on the ball a lot, and he almost never loses it. He just keeps things ticking along. I really like Lanzini, and his form is fantastic at the moment. So you have to play Lanzini.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's kind of driving the attack right now, him and Bowen. So even Declan Rice. Declan Rice got forward a lot today. I mean, even by his standards. And yet again, I mean, I was thinking about it when you were talking. You had to you threw in Declan Rice at the last second, but we just know that he's going to be in there all the time. I mean, it is funny now how we just don't talk about him because of how
Yeah.
consistent he is.
Yeah, that second half, I mean, he was a real captain.
Yeah.
Every time he got on the ball, I mean, he was just driving and driving and driving at that Burnley's defence, driving into the box, trying to make things happen, trying to find that winning goal from somewhere. And he almost did on a couple of occasions. You know, he hit a shot that would barely sailed over the bar. Nick Pope was definitely beaten, but unfortunately, it hit the top of the net, just cleared the bar. That would have been a fantastic goal. Another one where he drove into the box, played the ball across the area, but there was just a little bit too much on it, and Bowen and Antonio just couldn't get in there quickly enough, and it just ran beyond the goal. So Declan Rice played a real captain's role. Second, you could see today was the kind of game playing against a team like Burnley where you could see like Declan Rice is just head and shoulders above anyone else on the pitch. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, he's just an unbelievable footballer. And the way he was driving and carrying, he carries the ball, people can't get near him. You know, once he turns on the jets and he goes, and it's not like it's because he has lightning pace. He just drives into the space, and his touch is fantastic. You know, it's just little, you know, like a great Formula One driver. You know, it's just these little little adjustments that just moves the ball this way or that way, and he's sailed past someone else.
Good
And
way to get the F1 reference.
yeah,
We can
I
put
was
the
watching
time in
that
that.
today as well. That was what a finish that was.
Yeah.
Right down to the final lap.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Rice. I mean, you run out of things to say about him, and like you say, we just take it for granted now because that's how good he is. I mean, you could see just the quality of the guy. I mean, he was just even Burnley players. It must be a nightmare if you're a Burnley midfielder or defender, and there's a player on the other team that's able to just drive at you like that and sail past you, and you're literally
Yeah.
just like, I can't do anything about this. You know, he's too good. I can't stop him. All we
I
can do is get everyone behind the ball into the box and just try and get a block in or something, or try and get numbers on him and just get a foot in or something, or block his cross or shot or whatever. And that's all he can do. I mean, and he's done it against much better teams than Burnley. So the way he drove the team on second half, I mean, you could see he was really giving it everything.
we're not. Yeah, John, Eric. Sorry.
Well,
We're
no,
not
it doesn't.
saying
Yeah, it
it's
doesn't necessarily win you matches because he
but it
he
creates
can
the
he can
chances.
yeah he can only do so much. I mean, he did everything he could do to try and get the breakthrough. But whenever he kind of passed the ball off, or he won a corner. Um, other players just weren't up at his level for us today, and they weren't as clinical as Rice. They weren't as good as Rice. Misplaced passes and poor corners, and stuff like that. So I know Rice won't necessarily win us a game on his own. He could, and another day, that shot goes in, and he does win us the game on his own. But obviously he can't do it all the time. But he did everything he could have done to try and win that game for us, to try and push us on and inspire the team. And he almost did. Like I say, he almost scored. He got into a couple of brilliant situations where he was able to lay a ball off, right inside Burnley's half, where they were really scrambling in their
Yeah,
defending, and they were stretched. And that's all he can do. But he does it, and he does it brilliantly.
I agree, Mark. I agree. Um, yeah, and again, we were playing against a team today that every time we had the ball, 10 men were behind us or were behind it. So
Yeah.
I mean, you're not always going to be able to create the chances you need. I mean, it's a night and day difference of our performance, but between today and against Chelsea, and it's because Chelsea came at us, so we were able to get in space. I mean, they're not throwing every player behind the ball. Burnley was. So
Yeah, look, Burnley defended stoically. We've said it already. They're very, very well organized defensively. They were throwing themselves in front of everything. They put everything into it, Burnley, to try and keep us out. And look, they did, and in large part because Burnley are very, very good defensively. But also, part of it was that we just were not clinical enough with our final ball
yeah,
or with our final shot. And they did block a number of shots.
and Pope made a couple of incredible saves.
Solchek had a great opportunity. He hit a side foot effort just on the edge of the box. Burnley player just threw himself full length in front of the ball to get a block on to deflect it
Pope
over the
made a
bar.
couple of incredible saves.
Pope made a really good save from a Benrahma header. It's just one of those days. It's frustrating. A little bit more quality in front of goal. We would have nicked a goal. Maybe some of those crosses that came in that went straight, that Nick Pope was able to just collect. They weren't great deliveries. That's another reason we really miss Cresswell. His deliveries, very few of them go straight into the keeper's hands. We just really need to sharpen up.
Yeah, and we tend to show up in the a little bit more in the bigger matches. So I feel cautiously optimistic about Wednesday. I feel like we could get a result out of that. I think we have the capability. So we'll see. It's just a matter of actually what team turns up, basically.
Yeah. Well, look, obviously we've shown very recently we can beat anybody in this league. We've beaten the top two teams in the league, or two of the top three teams, excuse me, Chelsea and Liverpool, over the last few games. So we're capable of beating anybody on our day. The frustrating thing with our games with Arsenal is we tend to play really well against Arsenal, and we've often outplayed them and got nothing from the game or had to settle for a draw. I mean, the one that springs to mind the most is last season at home. Those first 30 minutes is the best I've seen West Ham play in years. We ripped Arsenal to shreds.
Are you referring to the start of the 3-0 curse?
Yeah, we were 3-0 up. I mean, we were absolutely tearing Arsenal apart. If you remember, they scored a goal very late on in the first half to make it 3-1. And it ended up then, second half, we didn't play as well, and we ended up 3-3. We have no luck against Arsenal. The amount of times I've seen us outplay them and not win is ridiculous. So maybe on Wednesday, they'll outplay us and they'll be the better team and we'll rob them. I would love to do it. I would
just rather walk and be the better team, win for.
Yeah. Yeah. In an ideal world, we go in there, play another great game, beat them, and deserve to beat them. But I'll tell you what, I will feel a hell of a lot of satisfaction if they're the better team and we don't play all that well and beat them like 2-1 or 1-0, like with a really late goal. Yeah. I'd be like, no, you fucking know what it feels like.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Well, listen, we're kind of exhausted everything we can kind of say about this match and looking forward. Before we wrap up here, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, just I've seen on Twitter, a lot of fans get really reactionary after a result. Like, calm down. We're still in a very... Listen, I'm telling you, we're a genuinely good team, like a really good team. And, we will have Zuma back in a few weeks, which will really strengthen us as well. Cresswell is almost back. At some stage, Antonio will hit form again. I'm sure we'll bring a couple of players in January, hopefully a couple of good players to help push us on in the second half of the season. We're going to be I'm convinced, we will be in the fight for fourth right the way through this season. Don't get too downbeat. Look, these other teams around us, right, for challenging for fourth. You're talking about the Man United, Tottenham, Arsenal, Leicester's. You think they're not going to drop points like this? You think they're not potentially going to go away to Burnley or even away to Norwich and end up having to settle for 0-0 or a 1-1? It will happen. These teams are not that brilliant. So they're going to drop points along the way. So these things happen in a season. Of course you're disappointed, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're going to be in a strong position because we are a very good side. We're going to be in the hunt all the way through this season. I have no doubt about that. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be nail biting. I think we're going to be going into those final 10 games in a very strong position to push for a Champions League spot. So, we're not a flash in the pan. We're proving it this season. We're here to stay, barring we have some kind of injury crisis. I think, and who knows what will happen to Tottenham now, because
Yeah.
they've all got COVID.
So does Villa, apparently. I just saw a report that
Yeah.
Villa has an outbreak.
Yeah, so look, these results are going to happen for everybody. Look, the Premier League is the most competitive league in the world. I mean, you get teams like Norwich are going to lose almost every week because they're just a poor side. But even Watford, I saw their game the other day, and even Watford are not mugs. When they're down there, Newcastle will spend some money in January. They're not mugs. Teams up the top half of the table are going to go and drop points to these teams.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so don't worry about these kind of games. It happens. The important thing is the bounce back. Let's make sure, at the very least, that we don't get beat at Arsenal on Wednesday. If we take a point from that as well, our schedule eases up a bit. So there's other games there we can take some points from. So, as long as we're not losing games, we're taking something. It means we're still in there, we're still fighting. Like a win, if we go and turn Arsenal over to their place, which we're capable of, and someone said to you before, would you be pretty happy with 4 points from Burnley and Arsenal? You'd be saying, yeah, we'll take that. Take that.
Absolutely.
You'd be assuming we went and beat Burnley and then
I
drew
was
at
going to
Arsenal.
say.
But not the other way around, but you would take it. So, don't be too downbeat. We're going to be in the hunt right till the finish of the season. I'm absolutely convinced of that.
Yeah, fair enough, and I completely agree. I think that we're going to be in it for the long haul this season, battling for fourth, maybe even third if some results go our way. So
Yeah.
I think we're just going to be in there the rest of the season. I think January is important for us. Like I said earlier, my dream window would be bringing in a striker, Lingard, and Nathan Ake. I've even seen reports as recently as today that we're interested in bringing in Martial, and he's actually handed in a transfer request to Man United. I've seen reports that we've bid for Eden Hazard. Now, I know obviously he's not in the greatest of form, but
No, not for me.
the way I put it, I'm like, Moyes has kind of rehabilitated several top players now. If we can bring him in and he does the same thing and rehabilitates him to what he was in his prime, then damn, we have a chance at winning the league.
Yeah, look, obviously Hazard has a huge amount of
Appreciate it,
talent.
Charlie.
No, it's we've done well, Charlie. We've done well to string it out this far, but appreciate you. But yeah, I think I'd love to get Lingard into it. Hazard, I don't know. He gets so many injuries, and you wonder. I mean, even with Belgium now, he hasn't looked good. His performances for Belgium have really dropped off, and he has had a lot of injuries. And I just worry about the Hazard thing. I don't see it happening anyway, to be honest.
No, I don't either. But
I think just because the
mean,
pay cut he'd have to take to come to us would be too much for him, I fear. But yeah, obviously Lingard is a real possibility. Need to get a forward in. Just got to. And like I say, Ake, really like Nathan Ake. That would be a really good signing for us.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, listen. So a little bit of housekeeping items, if you will. Apologies for the lack of shows as of late. Life's kind of gotten in the way, but I'm on my end at least, and I'm fully committed to being back. I'm looking forward to pushing forward. I'm going to try and do as many matches as I can moving forward. I'll be here for Wednesday. Saturday, I will be unable to do a show because I will actually be in the woods in a tree hunting. So not going to be able to do anything with that one. But moving forward, I anticipate being in as many as I can, like I said. And apologies again for going on hiatus for a few weeks. So, but like I said, I'm back. Right before we wrap up here, do you want to say anything, Tommy?
No, said my piece. Just keep the faith. We're still massive.
Yeah, I agree. Completely massive. Alrighty, so everyone, we will be back here on Wednesday following the Arsenal match. Thank you for Tommy joining me as always. Thank you for everyone in the chat joining me or joining us as well. And until next time, come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.